Excellent. Well, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the August 13th, 2024 meeting of the Ulysses Town Board. I will call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. I am attending remotely for extenuating circumstances. May we please have a roll call?
Of course. Ms. Bouchard?
Present.
Mr. Boggs?
Present.
Mr. Goldman?
Present.
Ms. Olson?
Present remotely.
Ms. Weatherby?
Remotely due to extenuating circumstances.
Thank you. A meeting agenda was posted last week. Are there any alterations or changes needed to it?
Yeah, I'd like to recommend we move the Clean Energy Communities 5C up to 5A. It's there here.
So we're going to be moving all the business. We don't actually need to make a change on the agenda. To that, I do want to make sure what I would like to propose. We don't have to change the agenda to do it out of order. This would just be the business that we're planning to do. I do want to make sure that we have a number of small things that I'd like to make sure go through first. I actually want to hit the local, and which is not a small thing. I want to do the override conversation of introductions and scheduling a public hearing first. Because we do have a hard stop when Mary has to leave at 7:40, and we will not be able to conduct any business after that point. So my intention would be that we work through, pay the vouchers, go through that stuff hopefully very quickly, and then we can give the bulk of the time of the rest of the meeting to that presentation.
Even though you two are out there, we need.
I'm sorry. You have to have 3 in person. So at 7:40, business is done.
We should have probably started the meeting earlier. All right.
We need an answer today, or this goes away.
You need an answer
You
today.
don't have another meeting, right?
Right, we don't.
Just saying.
Yeah, so. Okay.
So are there any alterations needed to the actual materials presented?
What was that order, Caitlin? We want to do the override first?
So what I would propose to do is we jump quickly to, well, I'd like to make sure we do B today. Old business B has to be done today. We absolutely will get C done, but I'd like to do the introduction of the override and have that conversation. B needs to be done. And then we could circle back to, I'm hopeful that should take a relatively few minutes. We want to make sure we get vouchers done. But I think we can move through the materials very quickly. What I don't want to have happen is spend 30 minutes on the project and then try and rush to grab the rest of the items before Mary has to leave.
Go quickly. All right. Go for it.
So is there, I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Thank you. First item that we'll hit is, and we'll come back to what I would like to propose. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I have to do privilege of the floor. Is there anybody, I can't see the room, so is there anybody in person who wishes to address the town board?
No,
Roxanne and,
but they're gonna,
yeah, they're on the agenda though.
right.
Okay. Is there anybody online who wishes to address the town board and privilege of the floor? Okay. Well, then we can move on. I would suggest moving municipal board reports. I already spoke to Legislator Corman. She was not able to attend this meeting, and so she's going to be sending us her information via email. I'll make sure you guys get that. So moving on to old business. I will quickly say about the budget line by line schedules. That schedule has been provided to you. Please let me know. No action needs to be taken on that. Please let me know if you have any concerns. I've also sent out, if we are going to plan that they are public meetings with at least 3 board members in attendance. If those meetings are not, if 3 board members don't attend, it stops being a public meeting. That happened a lot, several times last fall, but we're going to plan for those being public meetings. Please let me know if you have any concerns about that schedule. And then the next item up is the acknowledgement of the appointment of the budget officer and associated stipend. There is a resolution in your packet. I am appointing, Blixie is willing to serve as a budget officer. I don't think we could ask for anybody more qualified to do that. She's willing to do it through the balance of this year to deliver the 2025 budget. The appointment would only be through December 31st. That's my appointment to make. But I'm asking the town board to authorize the payment of a stipend of $5,000 for the payment of that service through the rest of 2024.
So moved.
So we have a discussion. Okay. Well, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second? And we can have further discussion.
Second.
Any discussion about that?
So why is it a stipend and not just part of the salary? And when would the stipend be paid?
The reason she would still pay her same regular things out of it. I'm happy to go into executive session to go into details about that, but Blixie's not an hourly employee. And she's remains under 20 hours a week because she does not trigger benefits and things like that. Going into a stipend does not push her over.
Yep, I get it. Thank you.
I have a really stupid question. I know we're on time, but how is it possible that a remote member can have a full vote, but isn't considered as part of a quorum?
Because that's what the law, we adopted our remote meeting attendance policy in conjunction with the state's law, and the state's law what we adopted is that we will have a quorum present. We talked about it actually quite a bit at the time we adopted our policy, and the board felt at that point more comfortable knowing that there were 3 people present. And the other reason for that is because there's no case law yet on this, and attorneys have also advised us and AOT through AOT, they were recommending at least having a quorum in person because then no one could challenge you in that standpoint in the future.
All right, keep going.
Okay, so there was a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Next up, we're going to quickly jump over clean energy, go to the introduction of a local law to override the tax levy limit established in genuine municipal law, and schedule a public hearing. The introduction was posted in the legislative intent. I will tell the public that the intention of this is to the best of my knowledge, Ulysses has never overridden the tax cap. But that it is rather routine procedure in many years to pass the ability to override it should circumstances require it. The reason I would say that I would like to preserve the ability to do it and then try not to do it to the best of our ability is because our tax cap limits is coming in at below 3%. Anybody who's following inflation knows inflation is well over 3%. And there are some unexpected is the wrong word. There are costs that we cannot control related to fire and EMS that have significant impacts on our budget. And we don't know what those are yet. So given that, I think it's prudent to override, and I'd like to move forward with that, and then do our best to continue to bring in another budget that lowers the tax rate and continues to expand, provide the services that our constituencies need. So,
No move.
so that would schedule the public hearing for the September 10th. Make sure that's right. Yep, September 10th at 7 p.m. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that?
You want to read the resolution
I sure can. Hold on, I'm grabbing
for the
that.
record?
I can.
Had a
Hold on, sorry.
long
It is. If someone else wants to read it.
But that's the local law. That's not the resolution.
Oh.
Chris is getting the resolution.
Sorry, I'm just hopping between too many things. I can read it. So whereas a local law entitled "A Local Law to Override the Tax Levy Limit Established in General Municipal Law 3C was introduced at this meeting, and whereas the town board desires to hold a public hearing with respect to the adoption of said local law, Now therefore be it resolved that a public hearing shall be held by the town board of the town of Ulysses with respect to the adoption of the aforesaid local law on September 10th, 2024 at 7:05 PM at Town Hall, 10 Elm Street, Trumansburg, New York. And it's further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to cause public notice of said hearing to be given as provided by law.
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second? Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that brings us to establishing a pay rate for the second deputy clerk. We have a second deputy clerk position. The resolution before you would establish the pay rate at pay rate of $40 per hour effective September 1st, 2024. This is when Michelle is jumping down to about 5 hours per week to help with the transition.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Any discussion?
Yeah, so we have a second deputy clerk pay rate already established.
First,
And
who's the second? then?
Michelle. Michelle's been.
this is second deputy clerk. Michelle would be moving into the second deputy clerk
Never
position.
mind.
Oh,
He's saying we already have a line.
Yeah, we already
Where's
approved
that?
a pay rate for it. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, so we're not supposed to change those.
what was the
Throughout
pay
the-
rate at the organization?
2060.
$20.60?
Yeah, but she would also be the highest paid employee in the town.
That's
So
not true.
no.
I have a concern.
That's not true at all.
Of pushing that,
She's only gonna
Yep.
work 5 hours a week at $40.
yeah, but nobody else makes $40 an hour. The only person that's close is the planner.
Which is considerably more than that. So
Okay.
this is her hourly pay rate.
Planner makes
Already.
80,340.
What? 40.
40
That's
times.
40. The
That
clerk makes
position-
167. I just have a moral issue with,
No, you're not comparing, this is a 5-hour position, it's not a full-time position.
yeah, that doesn't matter, it's.
Sure.
it's a
Well,
valid
it does
position.
matter for
Yeah, it does matter.
insurance and,
No, it matters.
Well, it matters because then you're pushing this, we're going into budget season. And, you know, if you were here, why wouldn't you ask for $40 an hour in 2025?
Because I work more than 5, you get a bonus.
That's not how it works.
Sure it is.
It is not. No place have I
This is not
ever-
a bonus.
Where-
This
where
is her
the-
existing pay rate, and she is not going to be having benefits on top of that. This is her pay rate currently. And she's not the highest paid employee in the town. By multiple people.
Well, by our organizational meeting, she is, and it doesn't count the overtime for the highway people. So by the hour, they don't make as much.
That's apples to oranges. If somebody's only working 5 hours a week as a consultant, that's $200 a week. That's different than somebody working 40 hours a week.
Well, she's not a consultant.
She's like,
oh, she's like a consultant.
she is like, because she's not getting any benefits, because this is her only hourly wage, work time. And we need her to help, we need her we do need her. I mean,
And I'm gonna call the question. Is there a motion to approve this resolution as presented?
I thought,
We've
already
already done
did.
that, seconded it.
we did, we're in the
Okay.
discussion phase. Let's call the vote.
Then I'll call the vote. That's what I'm sorry. I'm tired. Thank you. I'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
All those opposed?
No,
Motion carries. Okay, moving on. Surplus of old phone equipment. This is the old phone equipment. Is everybody okay with surplusing it? It's well over 20 years old.
So
Is there a
moved.
motion to approve?
Yeah,
second,
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
aye.
I,
Thank you. Then approval of the minute. I didn't have any alterations. These are the minutes from July 23rd, 2024.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Any alterations or changes needed? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Aye. And payment of audited claims. And Carissa sent that out earlier, pulling that up.
Yeah.
Is there a resolution here?
Yep,
it went out in an email,
it did.
yeah,
Well, I don't have it here.
I don't know. Budget money.
Resolved that the Ulysses Town Board has reviewed and approved payment of claims for A through SW funds, vouchers number 376 through 424, and the amount of $206,155.36. And from the HA fund, voucher number 2, and the amount of $29,598.20.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
aye,
Okay. And then I think that gets us through the main business, that stuff. So let's go back up and go to the clean energy communities component. The first item is to review and approve project proposals for submissions for the $10,000 and $50,000 allocations. So,
Can you hear us if we sit here? Or
yep,
should we
I
go-
can hear you just fine.
Okay. Okay, so I know there's not a lot of time and I want to give you the time to ask questions, so I sent that document with the whole outline of everything. And then the 4 items that we need a vote of approval on tonight, and it needs to be tonight, or we can't qualify for this money anymore because there's not another town board meeting, and if the deadline is August 26th. So we need approval to submit a grant application workbook, which I gave you the screenshot of what it would look like, partially filled out because we don't yet have all of the numbers to do the detail. But it's generally right. It's the idea, it's right, and Chris can explain more about that. The way, as I said in this, the way NYSERDA does it is you have to submit these application workbooks on, I think it's like Salesforce or something, on the web. So that's the format of it. And so we need one for the application for the air source heat pump system, which you saw, and it is for the $10,000. And then we need one, and you could ask questions in a minute to Chris. All right. We need another approval of the grant application for the road EV to submit that. We need approval for the supervisor to sign the letters of commitment on town letterhead for each grant application, if you decide to approve the applications. And we need approval for someone, I'm suggesting me as the task force chair, to submit the completed workbook on Salesforce as representative of the town, because the Clean Energy Community School person can't do it, so.
Do we have to vote these separate resolutions?
It's up to you, but those are the things we need authorized, those 4 things that are on this report.
Okay. What's the most?
So questions? Or would you like more explanation of anything, and what works, whatever works? We followed up from, as I wrote in the background, from what the board discussed at the meeting that Chris gave the presentation on. The desired items were the air source heat pumps for the office space in the town barn, that's the 10,000. And we have an oral estimate from the installer, we still don't have the written estimate from one installer, which is what we need, but we're getting it.
What's the verbal?
He thought it was around 12,000, 10 to 12, But we also have the $5,000 that we got from the other Clean Energy Communities actions. Which was slated, that was a while ago, when Nancy was the supervisor, which is slated for an EV, but as Chris explained before, we could use that. For anything we want, you don't have to ask for any permissions or anything. And since we have this other money that the board decided the priority was to buy an EV, we don't need it for that, so we can use up to 15,000 with no other town funds to do the heat pumps in the highway barn, and you'd have to do it anyway, so you're saving town money for other things, because they don't work now.
Right.
And so, yeah, we met with Scott and went through all that, so that's the proposal for that one. And there's a little aside to that, but if the board wants insulation in the ceiling, there's no insulation in the ceiling, then we would pay for that out of town funds, but you may still get it out of the 15,000
Yeah,
total.
that's in the
But we are
highway
not proposing in this, we're just proposing to buy the heat pumps. Because otherwise, you have to have a building energy study, and it takes too long.
That's at the highway department.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
at the
okay.
highway park. And then the other one is the EV, and Chris and his intern Nick, who's on, did a whole bunch of research on EVs because that would meet the criteria that the town told us, which was higher clearance, maybe all-wheel drive. And it seems that and Michelle met with Terry and talked with him a lot. And it seems that there are several options that would meet that we could get for the money that we'll have, which is a total of 7,500, because there's 7,500 in the IRA that taxable entities can now get. So,
So wouldn't it be 7,500 less than 50?
no,
Right.
plus it,
Oh, in the
we're
grant,
asking for the 50,000.
and they're gonna give us another 7,500.
So, right, so, the 7,500 is in the grant application because NYSERDA wants to see additional funding that may influence the final price. Because we have to go to contract anyways, the grant application is written to imagine an EV that costs 57,500. Because that allows us to apply for the full $50,000 from NYSERDA. And then we get to contracting, and then we go out to bid, and the EV comes in at like 48 or 46 or something like that. Then we go back to NYSERDA and say, hey, we have 4 to play with, what do we want to do with that? And we can kind of figure that out down the line. So it's that the 7,500 is in there, that's from the federal government.
Yeah.
It's just in there to make sure that it kind of maths out correctly. So that we can, again, ask NYSERDA for the full amount, it gives us the most flexibility with what vehicle we might want to pursue.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about that? When Michelle provided me her notes, to when she met with Terry or when she talked to Terry, and it's from her notes, the $7,500 rebate, or we're only eligible if we use town funds, so that will not work if we use the CEC funds to purchase a
No,
vehicle.
that's incorrect. The one thing I don't know is whether or not you can claim the federal IRA credit for vehicles that you purchase through state bid. I haven't yet tested that, but the CEC funds still qualify. So the way that the contracting will work is you will be buying the EV with town funds anyways. And then you get reimbursed for the purchase by NYSERDA. So, but they can be used, those vehicles are eligible. Again, I don't know how that interacts with state bid. I haven't seen anything that would make me think it's not compatible. But yeah.
On the vehicle, do we have a certain time where we have to buy it? I see the 10/1 date. With-
Yeah, in the packet, those dates are placeholders because they have to get figured out in contracting. The only concern we might run into is because you get reimbursed after the purchase, you try to not want to split a budget year. So you can keep it all, you pay it out and then you get reimbursed, sort of like nothing's missing. But the exact timeline, again, can get a little bit, if you want to take your time, do more research, entertain some more bids. NYSERDA can be pretty flexible on what those dates actually are for the contract.
And we have.
Okay, and if we do find
Yeah.
another vehicle, we don't want the Kia, there's something else available, we could switch the vehicle. We're not
Yes,
tied to
so
that.
The Kia EV9 is in there purely as a placeholder,
Right.
in the draft contract that's generated in the workbook. The language is Kia EV9 or equal,
Yeah, it
and
says the
yeah.
contractor will I wrote it in the notes here, under that application. Details that it says specifically, the contractor will purchase a Kia EV9 or equal, so it's
Yeah.
just, it has. A reasonably equal mileage range and the other things that you want.
All right. Any other questions? So what's the best way to do this? One big resolution or 4 different resolutions? Do we have a resolution in here on this?
No, they weren't ready. They weren't quite ready for the packet last week. So we don't have resolutions prepaid, pre-written, prepaid, pre-written.
All right, well, how do we craft this? Who
Well,
wants to-
Roxanne was stating what each resolution needs to cover, so I think we craft it from that.
Yeah,
I could.
So I have a draft resolution that says approve project proposals for submission for 10,000 and 50,000 allocations. Is that helpful with project proposals? The HVAC system at DPW offices and the EV vehicles presented by the CSAC chair.
but then you said there were 4.
Yeah, and then you need to add in and further resolve that. The board approves the town supervisor to sign letters of commitment on town letterhead for each grant application. And then another further resolve that the board approves. The CSAC task force chair, or whoever else you want, to submit the completed application workbooks as a representative of the town.
You got that? And that person we're gonna put as Rex.
It's actually written in this thing.
Yeah, it's on the second page of the material.
That like.
This one here.
I'd like to include a further resolve that all copies of application materials are provided to the town clerk for records retention. Because they won't be in our system internally in town hall if Roxanne's submitting it. So I want to make sure that Carissa has the materials she needs for her record retention requirements.
And I thank the board for their patience. I got hit with some stuff last week, so the lateness of the hour is my fault. I'll just say
It's all right,
thank you.
don't worry about it.
It's not.
Spot.
I was out of town, he was busy, but we're getting there and we're on it.
All right, so do we have enough in this resolution to vote on it? These. You wanna read it back, 4 of them?
I think we're kind of cobbing it together. I don't know if we have it all in one spot, but we will.
Okay.
You're gonna sit in the record book.
We have a copy of Roxanne's thing. We'll have to the language.
He's on the list.
Is that right?
Okay. So resolution for the approval of project proposals for submission for 10K and 50K allocations. Resolved that the Ulysses Town Board approves the Clean Energy Community projects for the HVAC system of the DPW offices, EV vehicles as presented by the CSAC chair. Further resolved, the town board approves the letters of approval and further resolves to the CSC task force chair to submit the completed application and the supervisor to sign the letters of commitment on town letterhead for each grant application. And further resolved that all packets provided to the town clerk. For records retention. Thank you.
So just put Roxanne's name in there for the TS task force chair, Roxanne Marino. It's clear. And did I miss it? You put the EV in there?
Yes.
Yes, that's in there.
All right. Vote, so moved, somebody move it.
I moved it. Yeah.
Second,
Okay, discussion.
Yeah, we'll have.
Caitlin, Liz, did
No
you hear?
discussion.
We're
Yeah, no, I think
discussing. Okay,
Okay, let's vote. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay, so pass. All right,
move to
all right.
adjourn.
I just want to thank you guys for all the work you did to put this
Yeah.
together.
sure.
And it's a huge amount of work.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
And
appreciate it.
Terry pointed us, Nick and I got some of this EV stuff, but. He's on both sides of this coin, because he also pointed me towards some of these resources, so proper shouts, you know, I don't know where he is in space, but.
Jerry Carroll,
Yeah.
and he's on he's on the CSAC, so
Right.
that's good. He's a good resource.
Okay, great, good.
So there's the next item I think on the agenda was. Also had to do with the CEC, and it was a discussion of a timeline, is that right?
Timeline of the approval process for future documentation submission for 100K allocation.
Right, so
All right, go ahead.
So, our thinking on that is that, the money, Chris can speak to this, but I guess they've been notified that the money in this program is getting running down faster than they thought.
Yeah, there was a pot was allocated back in December, and we thought it might last a little bit longer. It looks like it's moving quicker. So the town is on the cusp of another award. This award would be for $100,000. So basically, we submit one more action, which I believe is the demo. Being included. Yeah.
Because yes.
Right, yeah, and that triggers that next grant. And so basically the thinking is, with permission, we might want to get started on that sooner rather than later, because that increases the chances that we can claim that 100,000 out of however much is left. I don't have a good number of how much is left or a good timeline on when things might run out, but they've advised us that things are really moving. So the town is, again, we're sort of right at this threshold. We complete that one more action, then we get to do this summer's process one more time of identifying a project and figuring that out.
So what do you need from us right now?
So I put this on here because I think it makes most sense. Because what ends up happening is once that documentation is submitted, it triggers a pretty, and is accepted to my understanding, so please correct me if I'm wrong on that. It triggers a very tight deadline. So that's why we all had to have this done at this meeting. And timing wise, you know, this has been a bit of a challenge, just to make sure that, you know, we're all here and we can all do it, and we don't have a second meeting in August. So I just liked the town board to be very mindful of when that 2-month period roughly is triggered, so that we're doing it in such a time where, for instance, if it had happened in December, we don't typically have a second meeting in December, so we wouldn't be trying to shoehorn it in a timeline that maybe the town board had a lot of other things going on in terms of budgeting or things like that. So I just wanted to be to me, it makes sense philosophically that it's kind of binding the town to use the money, and if you don't submit in that 2-month period, that you lose it, that it's very similar to a grant application in those ways. And so I think a gatekeeper resolution is prudent, because of the philosophical approach the town has taken historically on funding. So I think it would be good to do that, and I mean, maybe as soon as if you're both ready at the meeting in September to do something like that. I just want to be mindful of the time so that town hall staff can also support the process in an efficient manner as well.
Right, so what I was gonna suggest, it's 3 months actually, was 3 months from when you're notified, was that I think we can have it all together, you know, within the next couple of weeks. Chris and I talked about that. And so then there's a board meeting on forgot what the date is, September,
Ten-
9th.
ten-
So we can
Okay.
come on the 9th, and if we're ready, and then you could say go, we could submit them. Then it takes about a week for them to approve your submission, and then it takes another week, about, that was at least from these last ones.
I just want to clarify the
For
dates.
them,
On our paper, it says September 10th. You said September 9th.
oh, well, maybe I.
It is the 10th.
It's the 10th.
Okay, I wrote it down, sorry.
I just want everyone to be
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah, so you have that meeting in September, we could be completely ready to go if we got the okay. The next day, we could submit the action items, then it takes about a week to get notified that the action items were approved. And then it takes about another week after you get that to get notified that you are eligible for the grant, you've achieved enough points. So that's 2 weeks farther down, so the clock on the 3 months would probably start very near the end of September or the beginning of October. So we'd need the grant proposal by the end of December. So, and there aren't that many things we could really do, and we've already discussed several ideas with the board and researched some things, so I don't think it is gonna be really hard to come up with a proposal that works, and it's $100,000
It's
to do
$100,000.
something.
Yeah,
So is
Oh,
that-
yeah, I'm not being critical about the money. I think it's wonderful, and I think getting to use it is wonderful. What I don't want to have is at the very end of the year, there's a crunch in trying to get 3 board members in attendance the 3rd week in December, for instance. So that's why I just would like us to be mindful of the schedule so that we can efficiently do it.
But if we don't do it in a timely manner, the money's gonna run out, you're basically saying.
Yeah.
It's a better idea to try to do it as soon as we can,
Yeah.
mhm.
and we are pretty nearly ready.
Right.
Then,
Well, if you guys think you can have it together, we trust you, and let's put it on the September 10th meeting.
So at the September 10th meeting, we can bring current status, whether or not we're eligible to apply for that funding, that $100,000 pot of funding. And then I can rework the PowerPoint that I had in June or July with a couple of options that we'd already talked about that might be worth. And then if anybody else has questions or ideas, definitely shoot them my way, I can add them. But we had talked about an audit for the town barn and putting money towards some additional upgrades over there. And then also maybe ground mount solar and thinking about battery storage. I can bring some information about that. And then at that September 10th meeting, yeah, if you then give us the go ahead to pursue a project, chase a quote, find out more information, is that kind of what the?
no,
No?
I think, well, my understanding is we need to wait till September 10th to get the okay to submit the 2 action items to even qualify. Is that right?
I don't know.
Cause that's not what you're saying. You're saying we might qualify by the 9th.
If we turned in those actions tomorrow.
Right, but we're not getting the okay to turn the actions in until the 9th is my
The
understanding.
10th.
10th, I'm sorry.
Well, is there something we can do tonight that facilitates you?
You could give us the okay to turn in on the town's behalf.
As soon as they're ready.
Yeah, the
Well,
last.
I mean, this is all found money. I mean, this is not,
Yeah.
it's not, I mean, why wouldn't we do that? Does anyone have an objection to doing that? Let them start right away to
No.
get
Yeah.
the stuff together?
So that
Okay.
would put the time, well, but again, I just want to be real mindful of the schedule. So if that would be, so if you put it in tomorrow, that would be the 14th, which means the clock would start ticking on the 28th of August. So 3 months would put us at the 28th of November. So, that is, sometimes we have a meeting that week, that is 2 days before Thanksgiving. So, I would just.
If we had to call a special, if we had to call a special meeting, we could.
Well, and we
With-
could
with
get it
this-
together before that.
With this much
mean,
lead time.
Right.
Right, yeah, with this much lead time, we can, this came up on us and then summertime, but with this much lead
Right.
time. We can make sure that we're not quite as time crunched, heading into this next submission cycle, so.
Yeah,
And that's honestly what I was trying to avoid, because I know you've been time crunched here. And
Yeah.
that causes unnecessary, but sometimes reasonable anxiety. So I don't want to do that in the holiday season. So,
Yes.
I mean, in that case, I'd be looking at wanting to see that on the agenda. Or that, you know, you'd be looking, not on the agenda, but you'd be looking at, you know, a final submission. Well, it would be on the agenda, final submission packet for say November 12th. Is that reasonable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
So then let's aim for just then November 12th. I'm happy doing a gatekeeper resolution with the intention that we have a project that could be approved at the December, you know, with a target date of November 12th.
okay, so what do you need from, do we need to do a resolution on this? To give them the go-ahead to,
I would just do a simple
Okay.
gatekeeper resolution on this,
all right, we'll
to
have. you-
authorize the submission.
All right,
Listen, you know, I can't submit any applications that even don't commit the town to accepting money without it, because, you know, I mean, so I think it really makes sense. This is a lot of money. I think it behooves the town to have the town board endorsing.
yeah,
Yeah,
all right, so do we need to craft one right now, a resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve a gatekeeper resolution. Resolved that the Ulysses Town Board approves a gatekeeper resolution to authorize submission of the final documentation to qualify for $100,000 allocation for the Clean Energies Community Project, something like that. Does that sound, get us there?
that sounds good.
You got that?
Second.
Any more discussion? All right,
Anything else you guys need?
I don't think so. I think that's.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Great,
all
thank
right,
you.
yeah, thank you very much.
Get on it.
Thank you all. You need us for?
No,
Yeah, we need you.
Yeah.
You just asked you.
Well, you know.
Yeah, thank you.
Clock in tomorrow morning and I'll get right on.
Gotta
go,
go.
go act.
I hope you're
So
all
with-
getting tickets.
Yeah, when is the fight?
It starts on Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Okay.
for 2 weeks, 2 weekends.
Where's it?
And Bialke's Barn on Congress Street Extension. Where's Pamela?
So with,
Right.
so with Mary leaving, we need to adjourn the meeting.
What's that?
We need to adjourn.
With you
Oh.
leaving, we need to adjourn.
Okay,
I was gonna leave,
all
but
right,
Yeah, one privilege of the floor.
we need a privilege of the floor.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Did he?
Yeah,
Everything, yeah,
Yeah.
we're going, because she's got to leave and we got two.
so we don't have.
So
a
as soon as
quorum.
Mary leaves.
I do not think you can do that.
Yeah.
We are back.
And you have 3 minutes.
But it doesn't matter. Yeah, because she's got to leave in 3
yeah,
minutes.
2 minutes ago.
Oh, it's 40, not 45?
You the timer?
Yeah, last time. Let me get my
Just let her know when you're done.
clock. Timer.
I got a timer right here.
Yeah.
3 minutes.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Hello, my name is Vivian Rose. I live at 104 Pennsylvania Avenue, Trumansburg, New York. I'm here because a year ago, I came to the first meeting of the August board, and I learned that town board had approved purchase of land on Crumbs Corners Road. In the press release for August 4, 2023, it said that the comprehensive plan had a stated objective to maintain and expand unique park recreation facilities for the continued use and enjoyment of residents and visitors to the town. And since then, as we know, we had a vote in which the people of the town of Ulysses did not want to acquire that property. So I wanted to go back to the comprehensive plan and look at what actually lived underneath that statement in the comprehensive plan, and it was a general statement under the category of community services that included prepare a recreation master plan to determine programming needs and current deficiencies as they relate to programming and facility availability for all sectors of the town population. Could be coordinated with the village of Trumansburg. Work with the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation and Historic Preservation to promote and market Taganic Falls State Park and its amenities as a desirable destination for residents and visitors. continue to support development of the Black Diamond Trail as a public, multiple use recreational health and open space amenity within the town of Ulysses. Work with the village of Trumansburg to ensure the trail is continued to the village and publicize the town's natural, recreational and cultural opportunities through brochures and maps. So as I read the comprehensive plan, the category was to take care of what we already had and to plan for what we needed. There are several other action statements here. The second one is, so that was an action statement. The second one is coordinate deliveries of utilities within the town while preserving and protecting the rural character of the community. The second, provide social and recreational programs for all age groups of the town's population. The fourth, coordinate delivery of public services in the town to ensure the needs of residents and visitors are being addressed. And fifth, create a cohesive pedestrian and bicycle network through the town. So what I wanted to come before you today and say is that the only place that I see in this is under provide social and recreational programs for all age groups, in which it says explore the feasibility of creating a community center within the town as a dedicated space. And under that community center could be.
That's
youth
3 minutes.
programs. Okay, so I would like to just direct you to this so that we are all on page of what the comprehensive plan actually says. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
These are the minutes.
right,
Thanks very much.
guys, move to adjourn.
Second. See y'all later.
Everyone.
All right, have fun.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rich.